Hi, this is Jack Downs with a little pre-introduction piece to go with the Dreamweaver tutorial, the lengthy tutorial. This little video piece is necessary because we have now moved to Adobe Dreamweaver CC 2018. Yet most of the actual video tutorial you probably will use, and also the on-text tutorial, was created with 2015, CC 2015. However, the programs are extremely similar. You could do the entire thing in one or the other and see almost no differences, except at the very beginning and how you set up the program. So I'm just going to do this little piece here to help you with that. First of all, when you start up 2018, the new program, which probably the only one you have access to actually in the lab or the classroom, you'll probably get some kind of a splash screen, a little semi-animated thing. It'll ask you, first of all, this question right here. This is a screenshot from it. Have you used it before? And I would suggest that you should say, yes, I have. Then, when you do that, it'll take you to a screen that looks something like this. It may look darker than this, but that's okay. It'll look something like this. It'll say, welcome back. By the way, if you took the other choice, that would be okay too. It would just take you through some little tutorial stuff, which might be helpful, might not be helpful, might be a waste of time, but whatever. Okay, here we are. It asks you to choose between 4 new color themes. That's something new in the program, is the idea of setting color themes. This is just for like the color of the background and the menu and the screen and so on, but it doesn't change any features or functions. I'm going to suggest that you go with the lightest color. That'll make it look the most similar to me, to what I'm doing. However, if you go with any others, that's fine too. I think if you don't choose any, it defaults to the dark one, the black one, which I find really hard to read or to see. But yeah, it's really up to you. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't change anything otherwise. Then you'll go, once you answer that question, it'll go on to the workspace. It'll say, pick a workspace. And this is important. However, you could change this at any time. So I think it's important that you choose standard workspace right here. But I'll show you where you could change that again if you already done that. And then it'll say well, something about find out some more things that are new. And at that point, you'll have the option of an X in the corner of the menu up here someplace at that next stage. And I think you should probably use that. Feel free to look through the other stuff, but it's not necessary. You could use that and leave this little splash screen. I think it's probably the case that most times when you start up in the classroom or lab, you'll have to go through this same process every time. Probably force you to make these decisions. Of course, if you had your own copy of the program, that wouldn't be the case. You would just make these decisions once, and then you could change those things later if you wanted to, but you wouldn't be forced to go through this little animated thing every time. It's just how it goes, how things don't work quite as well in the lab or classroom as opposed to if you've got your own copy of the program. All right, well, let's continue. Let's imagine that you've made those choices. What's going to happen next is the program's going to open up, and it'll probably look something like this. And if you compared this to the slightly earlier versions, like 2015, which is the most significant version before this, you would see it look very, very similar. However, there's one difference. We chose this standard workspace, and you can see it up here. Here it is. However, in fact, I can look under here and see the developer is the other choice, and then I can reset the standard. I can make a new workspace, and I actually put one called Jack because I made a workspace for myself. Making a workspace for yourself is not going to be any help because it'll probably get zapped because of the way these things all get reinitialized when you start up a computer in the lab or classroom. So I set a pick standard, and if you forgot to do that and wanted to pick standard, you could do it up here. Great, but you're still missing something. For whatever reason, the workspaces in this new version don't carry quite as many things, don't do quite as much for you. I think they're expecting you to make your own workspace. So instead, or in addition to doing that, probably every time you start up too, you're going to need to go to the window menu and choose properties, and that's going to open up the properties panel, or sometimes I call it the property inspector, which is what it used to be called anyway. Right now, it's kind of blank because I don't have any files open. But this is an important menu that we will want to have for the tutorial. But it's put in a very awkward place. It dropped right here. Where should you put it? I suggest you drag it down to your taskbar, and then you'll get a blue line there. And if you let up when the blue line comes, like that, it will dock it down here at the bottom of the screen. I think you will need to do that every time you start up also. And if you ever go to use the property inspector, it's not there. Well, that's how you get it from the window menu. Now you could probably just begin the other videos and you would start off fine. But I will just do the next step, which is the site definition. And I will remind you, as you will be reminded later, that you have to do this every time. And it says site, this is how we do it. Before we say site, new site. Even if this is not a new site, even if you've been working on it for days and days, you still have to go site, new site. The exception being, if you ever chose manage sites and your site was here, you could just click on it and say, and it would load up. But that's not going to be the case in the Labra classroom. So every time you're going to go site, new site, and then what? You're going to give it a name. Doesn't matter what you call this. Jack Tutorial 2018 is what I'm going to call mine. I think using your name is good, so you won't get mixed up with somebody else's if they actually stuck there someplace. That is not how you spell tutorial. I think putting a date on there, maybe a month and day would be fine too. Doesn't really matter though. And the naming rules don't apply here either. You'll see that again later. And every time you're going to go, you're going to choose what they call the local site folder. It's what we call the root folder. Now you would have already, in your later introductions, you'll see how you would have already downloaded the zip file from Moodle and opened it up and looked through it and so on. So don't worry about that. I'm just getting a site up so that you can see the rest of this differences between 2018 and 2015. So I'm going to go choose my my thing now. Go to my drive and find my folder, which maybe already downloaded it and unzipped it. 2017, mine for this one is called Dreamweaver 2000. There it is. And I'm going to say select that folder. That's my root folder. And I'm going to also go to advanced, which you'll see repeated as you continue the real videos. And I'm going to choose the default image folder, which is not, oh, I must have screwed up. Let me go back. Let me go back. Let me go back to the site. Let me go back. Yeah, I didn't go inside my folder. I gotta go able to see that. Yes, inside my root folder. Select folder, and I'm going to go to advanced, go to local info, and choose my images folder and open that up and say select folder, and I'll say save. And I see up here my files have shown up, and I finally am going to open up my index, which I've been actually this is just about complete really. Yours is not, but you're just getting started. And I want to show you something else. By the way, you can see my property inspector is now fully populated down here and it can be used. One thing that's different is, depending on your screen width and the size of your screen, it seems to me in this new version, they frequently have left less space for all these panels here on the left. And that will be a problem later in the tutorial when you get to using your CSS designer and it looks like this, which is a single pane, a single column of stuff. You're definitely going to want to open it wider until, boom, it turns into two columns. And you may even want to do this sooner if you found that when you're using the Files panel or the Insert panel, which you'll be using, you didn't have enough space or it felt cramped. Nothing wrong with it being narrower if you want it to be narrower now, but eventually you're going to want to make it wider, so your CSS designer is two columns of stuff here when you're getting to that. Okay, that's about it. Now continue with the real video tutorials, which will take you through the files and starting up your first page and all that stuff.